March 2nd, 2026. This is the S&P 500 futures mini on 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. This is what the chart looked like today. You have to ignore, I'm going to delete these lines going up after a while, but it looked like it was a pre-market overnight sell-off, bounce, another big sell-off. Then it actually rallied almost 150 points today on the ES. It kind of looked like I didn't find this channel until these two confirmed, but I didn't really trust it to use as key entry points. So it looked like there was a bunch of smaller channels. Eventually, I established this big yellow up channel, but as prices went along, I was thinking, is this blue, this one I'm kind of cycling colors through, this blue trend line actually a key entry point? Because when it got to here, I thought, okay, maybe there's something here, but it didn't really quite fit like a channel. If as I was trying to like make something fit on the high side, because it didn't really look quite right. And then this one was a little bit later when prices continue moving and was breaking out both the yellow and what I thought this channel might be. So I drew this one, but again, it also didn't really establish anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and just delete this for now because it didn't really act as anything useful. Also, as the day progressed, right about here, I tried to see if there was a more shallow, transparent channel here. And it did have like maybe one touch, but it doesn't really confirm till about here and the third confirmation here. By the time you get here, it doesn't really help out. So I did take a total of I took two trades, one on the first one, and then the second one I lost. Definitely should have just cut it after the first trade. Usually when I get a winner on the first one, I'm very reluctant to take a second trade because if you're profitable, just kind of ease up unless it's something that just jumps out at you. And this one I thought jumped out at me, and unfortunately I took a loss. The volume was pretty decent today, and the only economic data that came out was around 7 o'clock Pacific Standard, which is about right here. Didn't really move the market. It was the ISM manufacturing PMI. And unless you're completely oblivious to what's going on, it looks like the US and Israel attacked Iran over the weekend. And I think they're continuing to attack it. So it did cause a lot of volatility, not just in the ES, but also I think in the crude oil futures, which I don't trade, as well as a bunch of other stocks. So it was kind of a crazy day. The volume was, as I mentioned, kind of higher than usual. Well, not higher than usual, but it's higher than we've seen. But it didn't really translate to too many setups. So I'm going to get into the trades right now. The pre-market. So when I start looking at the charts right about here, I can already tell there's this big drop, and I thought maybe it's going to close this gap, and it eventually does. But I wasn't really sure what was going to happen because this is what I see in real time. It starts crawling forward. So in the pre-market, after this big drop, it kind of bounces, pushes up. Looks like it was a shallow orange down channel, then a more aggressive red down channel, but clearly just a leg down. Break, test the low, pushes up on this green up channel, break, test the high, try to establish to think maybe there was a blue channel up here, move sideways, kind of pushes, chop sideways, and then on the open, there's a new low. It's a first entry short, and that's all you get. And then it kind of pushes up on this on this green up channel. Break of this green up channel, test the high. I initially also had the idea that maybe the channel was something closer to this. But the confirmation of this channel doesn't occur till much later. So I treated it as a break of the green up channel and test the high. So then it comes down, creates a first entry long pullback, creates a second entry long. I call it an almost trade because this is the signal bar to get you ready to try to take a trade. The follow through trigger bar is nice that it engulfs, but the problem I have with it is now it's broken through the EMA. You can argue that the break of this orange down channel has tested the low, and so prices are going to reverse. But I wanted to see a higher low. And then you kind of get an almost higher low here. It's also an almost trade because I needed this bar to break below this guy. And it did. It created a double bottom. And then on top of that, it didn't close at the high to give me any extra reassurance. So I thought there's a possibility there could be some kind of resistance here, roughly around here. So I didn't want to risk this because these candles aren't clearly trending up or down. It can be argued it's just chopping sideways. We'll start pushing up. I established this red up channel trend line. And then initially this was a little tighter. I had it slightly lower here. So I'm thinking, okay, it's moving up this red up channel. There's a first fail breakout. It kind of dwells and doesn't come back in. So that's when I increased the width, widened up the up channel. It's pushing up. It looks like it's following pretty well. There is a small break here, but I considered it not really that important. Not that it's not important. It's not that impactful because it could still be, if as I just did, adjusted, and it could still be within this red up channel going up. You technically have a first entry long here just by one tick, and then you technically have a second entry long here, but the follow through and the signal bar aren't the cleanest. Broke through the EMA. I'm expecting a move potentially back into this red up channel. It creates a second entry short, second new low, first entry short pullback. Technically, you have a second entry short. I'm reluctant to call this an actual possible trade, at least for me, because it didn't really it engulfs this guy, but I needed this candle to at least break below here. And if it doesn't, then I needed a close at the very low. The reason being is you can see during the life of this candle, prices move down, hits a double bottom, but then before it closes, buyers are able to push it up from the low back up. So it gives me a little doubt what's going to happen on the next candle. Is it really going to continue downwards? Is it going to press up? So it makes it an almost trade for me. In order for me to feel comfortable going short, I need to see a lower high. You don't quite get the lower high, so this almost trade was exactly that, an almost trade. Prices move. It looks like it's in this range right now. It's a localized high. First entry long pullback, second entry long, not a clean setup. You could argue there's a triple test, but this isn't a very good signal bar. Pushes up and out. So I look to the left and it's clearly reversing. And it's about to close this gap. So I was thinking I'm in this yellow up channel. This blue one doesn't exist yet. So I saw one touch, two touch, three touch. So I'm thinking, okay, at least this could be something developing. The high side only really has two touches. And as you've noticed, it came to the low side and hasn't made it back all the way up to the high side. So I can trust this support more than I can trust this resistance. But on a day like this, or at least when I see this in real time, I'm not thinking of going short necessarily because also the EMA is starting to get in a bullish bias. So I'm just thinking all longs because I don't want to try to take a short because it feels like you'd be picking the highs. Prices continue moving up. It gets really congested here. Creates a new high. It's a first entry long. Pullback, second entry long. Then actually gives you a higher low. This happened pretty quickly, but I think there's a possible trade here because this higher low confirms the second entry long. It is bouncing off the EMA. It's the fourth touch confirmation of what this green channel eventually becomes. But at the time I had this as a trend line. So it's a fourth touch bounce off both the EMA and this trend line, which eventually became this green up channel. Really nice close at the high. Enough room for in my case, I'm going for 6 ticks, 1.5 points. Enough for a quick scalp. But as I was watching this, by the time it closed, I was reluctant to try to enter here. And if this would have been a bullish bar, or at least more, this body was a little bit higher, I think I would have tried to drop my order one tick above this guy. But I just kind of left it alone. Now, debatable whether I really would have gotten filled on this candle or not, but it doesn't matter because I just didn't feel confident pulling the trigger until it played through. Then I thought my suspicions that it was a possible higher low trade were confirmed, but with my experience and my confidence level, I didn't trust it enough to jump in on the trade right after this candle closed. Prices continue moving up, so I now get a confirmation of the high side, and then this actually sets up for my first trade. So as it's going up, I see a localized high, also high of day, first entry long pullback, second entry long. Second entry long hasn't confirmed yet, but the way this one closed reminded me very much of this guy. Plus I have one touch, two touch, three touch. You could argue fourth touch or fifth. So I'm just saying this is localized 1, 2, 3, 4. Because in between these two, there was a pullback and come and drop back down. So this is clearly at least a fourth touch. I like this signal bar. It looks like it was 2 legs down, also bouncing off the EMA. I like this trade. So I entered right after it closed, one tick above this guy, pushes up. Now this is where the 6 tick profit target was achieved. And I didn't move my stop for my runner fast enough. Not my stop, my profit target. So when I entered here, my stop is below these two guys. And then my default target profit for my runner is 3 points because it's double the profit target that I want for the main amount of shares, which is 6 ticks. So this is sitting at 6 ticks, and this is sitting at 12 ticks. And so when it hit here, I it hit here. I moved my stop loss of this guy to be 1 tick above this guy. And then the second thing I do is I try to drag my profit target higher, hoping a bigger move will occur. But before that happened, it pushes up and gives me my 3 point runner scalp. But that's fine because it pulled back, and it's better than getting stopped out at my 1 tick above break even. So it kind of comes back, reverses, breaks out of this green up channel. Looks like it's 2 legs down, pushes up. It kind of has a touch confirmation here. So I'm thinking maybe this yellow up channel is truly in play. Keep in mind this blue one doesn't exist yet. So it's like 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch. This is almost touch here. But I'm not really sure it's going to push back to the high side of this yellow because it's had trouble before. You get a higher low here, and then you do get a second entry short here. I call it an almost setup because there's a new low. First entry short, second entry short. This candle actually ticks 1 tick above this guy, then engulfs it completely and closes near the low. The reason I didn't want to go short on it was I wasn't sure how accurately this yellow up channel line could be drawn. Is it, it's floating a little bit. There's a little bit of wiggle room. Could it actually be higher? I don't want to be potentially selling into a support area. If this whole setup was much higher, then I think there might have been a more confident setup for me. In this case, it would have worked, but I'm okay that it didn't. Excuse me. I'm okay that I wasn't on the trade, even though it worked. So it moves down. I'm thinking I'm moving down this gray up channel. At the time, I was playing with something closer to this. I saw this failed breakout. It didn't create a failed breakout on this side. It breaks down. Then I actually extended it to something like this. Breaks tested low and starts reversing back up. So this is actually where I think prices are going to move back into this yellow up channel. I did have this blue trend line drawn here as a preliminary, but as you can see, it never really turned into a channel. I'm going to go ahead and delete this guy because it only has 2 touch confirmations right now. Break of this green up channel, test the high. No trade setups yet. Far from the EMA, starts reversing. It's a first entry long here. You technically get a second entry long here, second entry long, potential bounce off this new, very recent blue up channel, but it's not a good enough setup. I mean, it's nice that it's first entry long pullback, second entry long, strong engulfing. It closed right at the EMA, but the EMA I'm suspicious of right now because previously the EMA here is a little bit more reliable. Prices did break below, but you can tell the majority of the time prices are above the EMA. Here, in this region, prices are majority below the EMA, but now it's reversing back up. So is the EMA reliable? Well, it's hard to say for me because it started to flatten. So I thought, okay, I did notice something here, and I thought, is there a trade here? But I'm reluctant to take a trade right here. I want a higher low. You don't really get the higher low. Technically a higher low here, but this isn't a good signal bar. Prices move up, hits and tests the high of day, and it keeps going. Break of the green up channel, test the high, starts reversing, breaks through this EMA again, localized high, first entry long. Technically, you have a second entry long again. It's an inside bar. I don't like that. Starts moving down. I'm thinking I'm moving down this orange down channel, but it flashes through. I'm not certain that it's going to actually come back into this orange down channel. Starts chopping sideways. It kind of does, but then continues blocking, not blocking, continues moving and kind of ranging sideways. Localized low, first entry short, kind of flashes up. Technically, it's a second entry short, but my mindset was like, this second entry short is so far from this guy. Is it really even something that you should be trying to take? Because it did close the gap for the break of yesterday, but it's so far away. There's no reason to try to make a second entry short. Plus, the second leg is so long compared to the first one. I thought maybe it was this green up channel break, test the high. Pullback's a first entry long pullback. Technically, you have a second entry long here. Didn't mean to do that. Actually, First entry long pullback, second entry long. Signal bar isn't the best. I did establish this yellow up channel rather early because I had a one touch, two touch, kind of a third touch, and I thought, okay, I'm going to turn it into a channel. Prices are probably going to move into the channel, but in hindsight, this channel looks huge. There's too much empty space here, too much empty space here. I should have just treated it as a break of the green up channel, test the high. Comes back, first entry long, second entry long. In order for me to feel confident going long, I want to see a higher low. Then I also saw this as visual. So it's first entry long, pullback, second entry long. I saw it as a visual first entry. And this is where I take my second trade. So it's a first entry visual, because there's technically a first entry here and then a second entry. You could say maybe it's a higher low, but it broke the low. The reason I like this trade at the time was there's a break of this orange down channel. On this candle, it has tested the low of this orange down channel. Not only did it test the low, buyers were able to reverse it back up, engulf this guy completely. Engulf this guy completely. This blue range doesn't exist, so I'm thinking prices are going to move back into this yellow up channel, despite the fact this green up channel is broken and tested the high. So I want to see what happens, and that's kind of where the trade went against me. So when it broke above this guy, that's where I should have just entered. But as it pushed up, I was thinking, is there possible resistance here? I hesitated because if I entered one tick above here, I would have gotten my 6-tick scalp. If you were going for 4 ticks or 1 point, you definitely would have gotten it. But I hesitated and I waited. And so by the time this one closed, it doesn't look as attractive anymore. But I definitely said, well, I think there's a trade there. So I entered one tick above this guy. You can see it flushes down. My stop's below this candle. So it's chopped sideways. I had to wait through this. And then I established this range. I said, okay, cool. If I get a triple test, then there's hope that it's going to come back up. But it flushes down, hits my stop, which is one tick below here, and then it reverses back up. And that was definitely a bummer. But if this one didn't stop me out, this candle definitely would have stopped me out. So this was a loss. If I had entered right after this candle, I would have exited on this candle. So lesson learned was after the setup, I didn't get it. I shouldn't have chased it, which is what happened here. And this is a no-win trade for me going for 6 ticks because yes, I would have potentially gotten the 6 ticks here, but my stop loss was already hit by this guy. If I kept it 2 ticks or 3 ticks below here, 2 ticks, I think I still would have gotten lost. I would have gotten the loss here, but then that would definitely be breaking my rules because if I get away with 2 tick stop loss, next time I'll probably think of a 3 tick stop loss, 4 ticks, and it would just end up in disaster in the long run. So this is a loss, unfortunately. I thought this was a decent setup. Fail breakout here. This one didn't stop me out. This one of these guys definitely would have stopped me out. And you can play the game of like, well, you just keep moving it further and further down, but that's how you blow up accounts. And that's how I have blown up accounts in the past. So it starts reversing. This blue up channel doesn't look like it's anything anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and delete it. So it was in play at one, not in play, but it's something I was considering at one time. Prices continue moving up. Bounces, creates a localized high. First entry long, technically have a second entry long, not the best setup, not clean. Break of this orange down channel is tested low. Starts oscillating. You have a new low. First entry short, second entry short failure. I call it an almost trade because EMA is flat. It is safer definitely to go long than to go short because clearly the bias is bullish, but it didn't set up well enough for me because this looks a little congested in my opinion. It's trying to press up. It's not making decisive moves up. We recently hit the high of day, like in sequence. There was a high of day here, had a lot of trouble, then it made new highs of day. But these each subsequent high of day is just a small move. It's not a huge push up. It's just incrementally higher. So although there's a potential this candle is going to push up and give you a 6-tick scalp, I just felt this setup just wasn't quite there. By the time this established, I had this green up channel. I thought this potential fail breakout does test the high, goes back down, first entry long. I was hoping for a second entry long, but it doesn't really show up. Creates a new high. You don't really get a first entry long, but it does look like a visual. You do have a technical first entry long here. Moves down this orange down channel, break on this high, break on this low side. Creates kind of a corresponding break on this side. I saw this a new low, first entry short, potential second entry short. I was thinking it might come back in and test the low of this orange down channel, decent signal bar. I thought there was enough momentum at least to get a, in this case, 1 point scalp, but I wasn't really sure. A little bit gun shy after this taking this loss here. The 1 point scalp would have done it, pushes up, and then if you weren't sure of your trade, this lower high would have given you confidence. But I didn't think this lower high was a possible trade because the previous candle broke above the EMA. Granted, the EMA is not the cleanest, not the clearest bias, but you do know prices are trending up. So the overall bias does seem to be going upwards. To go short, it felt a little bit risky. This one was definitely the more possible trade because this is only a 10 tick risk. This one's larger, plus your entry after this closes is lower. Up here, you have much more room to ask prices to push down before it hits any kind of resistance. Here, it's a little less, and you already had a break back above and close above the EMA, so it made me reluctant. Prices continue moving down. I established this transparent red bordered channel, but didn't really trust it as anything yet because it's a failed breakout here. It didn't quite fit right. So first entry short goes back to the low, hits this pretty much quadruple bottom, then starts reversing up. I established this green up channel. Looks like it's fitting pretty well, but there's no second entries that set up. The first entry long, and that's all you get. Then it continues making new highs. Again, makes a new high of day. And by now, if you look back at what's happening, where this was in real time is 69.11. And you look at the low of day, it was like 67.68. This is clearly 150 points already, 100, almost 150 points. So clearly, it's a really strong push up. So here we go, bounce. Technically, you technically have a second entry long here, but it's not a good signal bar. Starts pushing back. It gives you a lower high here because I saw it as a visual first entry long pull back, second entry long pull back down, lower high, call an almost trade. It was tempting, but I can't justify the trade because technically this one ticked above this guy, but it didn't break below. It does look like prices are going to come back down for relief, but you are counter trended. It also looks like it was 2 legs down now. I'm not sure if there's going to be a reversal now, so I had to leave it alone. And at the time of day when this is happening, I just decided I wasn't really, unless something was just absolutely perfect, I wasn't really going to try to take a trade at this point. Just kind of walk away with the loss. Moves down this orange down channel, far from the EMA. It's just getting kind of not whippy, but just a little bit like nothing is setting up. Localized low, first entry short. Technically, I have a second entry short, but this is inside to this. Not a big fan of that. Pushes. So break the screen up channel, test the high. So I saw this as a visual first entry short, pull back. Your second entry short's made right here, but it looks like a visual first entry, second entry. Call it an almost trade because it is a visual second entry short. Green up channel is test the high. Looks like it's reversing. I like that this bar engulfed 2 previous bars, but the EMA is coming into play, which granted isn't super, I mean, it was reliable here, but it looks like it's a little bit ambiguous here. I was concerned that it might be a bounce here. And I'm shorting kind of at the end of the day where clearly the rest of the day has been bullish. Break of this orange down channel is tested the lows. I was thinking more likely, even though it's a second entry short, could be a break correction, could do something and then create a second leg up. So all that played into my mind, whether I was thinking correctly or not. I just was reluctant to try to take a setup that I wasn't sure of. So it just chops sideways, starts moving down. I thought this might have been like a yellow down channel, but I don't give it much confidence because it doesn't fit very well. It's pretty wide. Then chop sideways, and this kind of gets in the last 30 minutes. I'm just going to fast forward. Last 30 minutes, it starts reversing. I thought there might have been a channel here, never colored it in. I guess you could color it in because it does look like it fits pretty well, but no clean, safe second entry setup. Plus, when you get to here, from here onwards is the last 10 minutes, and this is from roughly here onwards is the last 30 minutes. And I wasn't going to try to hunt for a setup at that time of day, even though I was going to end the day red, but I just figured got to stick with discipline and not try to hunt or fall into the trap of inventing a setup. So Now, how's all the trades set up today? The first trade was green. Second trade, unfortunately, in hindsight, I wish well, of course, in hindsight, since I've lost, I wish I didn't take the trade, but I think I should have given it more consideration. This green up channel might have been the one that's in play instead of thinking this yellow up channel was going to go back and test the high. But I was, I think, a little bit reaching or thinking ideal that this is such a nice signal bar. But unfortunately, I didn't enter right after the close. And after this one, since I didn't act and I entered after this one closed, I should have just skipped it completely because after this one closed, that was my chance to try to enter the trade. And seeing this close in real time, I should have paused and thought about, okay, well, whether it moves up or not, if this red one just continued as green bars up, I should have just accepted I missed the entry and not chase it. And this one would never probably have been taken, and I would have ended the day green. So hopefully that was helpful.